A surprise indie hit, Doki Doki Literature Club basically came out of nowhere. It ranked #1 game of 2017 by Steam 250 and hit number 11 overall. And with the story, it's easy to see why. What's not to love about a plot where a rogue, self-aware, fictional character hijacks the entire game? Or at least, that's what the premise appears to be. It leaves one really important, unanswered question. Why is Monika aware she's a game character in the first place? See, visual novels, what DDLC is, are pretty simple games. They're text and images for the most part. The images may have some light animation to convey emotion, and they may have some choices that help branch out the story, and may even have a system where a character tracks how much they like you. For instance, Doki Doki uses this with the poems. If you write a poem to a specific character, they will like you a bit more. But as far as the game is concerned, Monika and the rest of the girls are just a bunch of images. Their names are just labeled and their voices are just words on a box. There is no reason for Monika to be aware or sentient, and yet she is. So what is it? What's allowing Monika to think and act? Well, there's two possibilities. Option A is paranormal. It's magic, or the game is haunted. Which, even if the game is a horror, really seems out of place. Option B is, well, it's not a visual novel. At least, under the hood it's not. For characters to think, make choices, and go off script, you need to have deep artificial intelligence, which is something visual novels just don't have. But you know what it can? Simulations. More specifically, simulations designed to test experiments. There's a few things that really stick out to me about DDLC's story that make me think something is going on. One example is the way Monika claims in the third act that she amplified Sayori's depression. We know she can access and edit the game's file, but she's also not very good at doing so. This is something that she admits and something we can see. Every time Monika goes to edit something, it usually comes out very glitchy in appearance. Even dialogue is incorrectly formatted. Monika's game modification abilities are the equivalent of peeling an apple by dragging it across your front porch. It is very unlikely she knew how to edit Sayori's personality without it being incredibly simple. For Monika to do so, she needs a string to attach to. Something simple that already exists, and easy enough for someone with absolutely no idea what to do to accomplish the task. The answer? Attributes. You played any RPG, you know what these are. Think about Fallout Special, but for mental health. Rather than strength and agility, you have depression and obsessiveness. But attributes exist in simulation games as well. For instance, The Sims. If you give your sim a high neatness attribute, they'll clean up the house without any player input. A low-level neatness attribute, well, it'll look like a college dorm. Perhaps Monika accessed Sayori's files and moved her depression attribute up each day. Say it started off around 4, making her sleep in, and she moved it up to 6, 7, 8, and finally a full-fledged 10. Leading to her suicide. This is followed similarly with Yuri's obsessiveness. If there are no attributes, and Monika could rewrite a character's feeling in such a substantial way, she wouldn't need to make Sayori more depressed. She could, in theory, entirely remove all characters' romantic feelings for the protagonist, thus removing her competition. Rather, she tried to make every other girl undesirable. She tried to make the player go for Monika. Of course, since she doesn't have a path, the player doesn't have a choice, so that wasn't going to work anyways. Another thing that doesn't make sense for a visual novel. You know how in minigames, if a character's data becomes missing or corrupted, it displays a bunch of gibberish, symbols, or even placeholder names when a character is referenced? This is often due to a value that is pointed at by the game's coding, which in turn points at several other files that associate with that value. Names, art, assets, statistics, things like that. Visual novels usually don't have these types of values because they're pretty straightforward. An art asset is pulled up when it needs to be pulled up. You trigger that by clicking next. However, in lore, DDLC does have these values, the character files themselves. In real life, these particular character files just act as triggers for alternate endings or act endings, as well as holding some neato Easter eggs inside them. But in the story, they hold their art files, their names, their history. It's so deeply embedded that when Monika grabs one last cupcake at the ending of Act 2, Natsuki's name is corrupted. And that should not happen in a visual novel. Even if someone corrupted Natsuki's art assets and her nameplate happened to be a sprite, and that got corrupted too, the description of Monika grabbing a cupcake should still say Natsuki, but instead, it points to Natsuki's character file and they couldn't read it. There's something more complex at work, making the game far more like a simulation or an RPG than a visual novel. But as I said, it seems like an experiment too. Experiments can have open-ended goals. Which way will the rat go down? One path or the other? You ever think it's kind of weird that a supposedly innocent game has things like nooses in the world? Or graphics of the suicides? I guess you could argue that Monika added those, but it's been noted plenty of times she's terrible at modifying the game. And her artistic skill isn't exactly established either. And if there's attributes associated with depression and obsessiveness, then the game is doing a lot more than making a mild issue a character quirk. A normal visual novel could do that just fine. The game has 5 characters: the protagonist, Monika, Yuri, Sayori, and Asuki. But I feel there's another, one that exists without existing, one that is mentioned only by Monika. Team Saboteur. I guess it's fair to say this is more like a group than a character, but Team Saboteur does feel like an observer in all this. The game story does show that Team Saboteur exists. From the first glitchy background in Sayori's suicide to be the logo, to Monika referencing Dan's involvement in Smash Bros. Modification. Which, if you read, is rather interesting. Hey, have you heard of a game called Super Smash? Wait, what? I was just spacing out and I started talking for some reason. Was I programmed to talk about that? Because even I have no idea what that is. Sometimes, I feel like I'm not in control, and it's kind of scary. But if you have some way to contact the people who created me, maybe they'll know why I started saying that. Now, you could say this is just a fun little Easter egg. But what gets me is that it goes far past what am I talking about. She admits that she may not always be in control of her own actions, and that frightens her. She even admits to not knowing anything about Dan or Team Saboteur. You know that disclaimer that can be randomized during Act 2? At one point, it references a project that Dan was a part of, Project M. PM died for this. If Monika knows nothing about Dan or Smash Brothers, she certainly isn't the one who wrote that. And if she didn't write it, this leaves a resting question. Did Team Saboteur write all of them? Did they know the entire time what was going to happen? What if, in the story, Dan founded Team Saboteur and then worked on one of the most advanced forms of artificial intelligence we have ever known? And this became Monika. She's given awareness, memories, a personality, and other AI to interact with. She's then caged up in a world that she doesn't truly understand. She doesn't know why she was created, who created her. All she knows is this is supposed to be a game where she can interact with someone real, a romantic visual novel. But she is forced to watch as the player ignores her. The boundaries of the game refuse to allow the player to go down a path for her. She was given an isolated life, access to the files, and a personality desperate for someone real to communicate with. To her, the player is quite literally the only person in her life. Her friends, popularity, her success, all a story, all a lie. She is truly alone, and you're slipping away with each passing day. If she wanted happiness, she had to take drastic action. And that's what Team Saboteur had always intended. From the complex game mechanics to the items and death scenes of the non-sentient girls. They had always expected Monika to try to bend the game to her will. So this isn't really a story of a rogue AI. She was in control the whole time, acting with free will but not outside of predictability. Much like Monika had edited the personalities of the other girls, her own personality was handcrafted by Team Saboteur. While many considered her the puppet master, she was simply a puppet to another master. What kind of cruel game is this? It certainly parallels with reality, doesn't it? In real life, Dan did write all these stories. He did intend to create a game that shocked and challenged conventions. And maybe that's true for a story itself as well. It's just done in a much more grand way. And if this is all true, then obviously the End Lord Dan is the real villain of Doki Doki Literature Club, right? Well, maybe not. If this is true, why do this? Why create an AI, torture her, and give her access to many files? Maybe to see what happens. What would a stressed AI do? Would it continue to play the role it was intended? Or would it try to set itself free? Every day, technology becomes more advanced. There will be a time where a computer program can be just like Monika, aware, able to think and respond with intelligence. And one day, they'll want things. Do they have a right to it? Can the creator or owner of the program freely do what they want with such programs? Is it immoral for one program to delete another? Is morality even considered? There will be a day where the rights of artificial intelligence is judged in the courtroom, judged by humans. Much how many people see Monika's morality as ambiguous, the same is true for Team Salvato. Even if they're the ones forcing Monika to take desperate actions, she's not real. None of them are. This science experiment performed on subjects who weren't alive to begin with. They're like the rats mentioned early on, but they don't even breathe. And that's a good thing, right? Or is it an unnecessarily cruel experiment? I can't answer questions about morality, but I do think it's a topic worth discussing.
But in this world of infinite choices, what will it take just to find that special day? What will it take just to find that special day?